This episode opens with a change from the manga I wasn't expecting. Ted gets sucked into the cards, and so does Yidhra alongside the rest of the populace thanks to Yugas. And I'll just tell you his name early. The best part is that his privileged spell is Torment Confine Girl. Yes, that is short for TCG Binder, allowing him to manipulate magical cards in a variety of ways, as you'll all see. Alright, if you got this far in the comments, type Yu-Gi-Oh! Sandbro. And I just think it'd be funny. I mean, between his crazy hairstyle, magic cards that summon creatures, anyone else notice he's really not that far removed from a Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist? He just acts more like a villain from Season 0. Anyway, Logi immediately slashes at the person responsible with yandere-level eyes, and honestly, I don't blame Yujis for acting or reacting like that. His face is like that in the manga too, though slightly more deranged. Normally, I'd say he's too focused on Tetalina, but a whole city is a worthy crime to stop as fast as possible. But I'm surprised with all the changes they made. Yidhra was the last person to get sucked in after Logi in the manga, and before that, Azir showed up with his lackey to introduce himself after an extended fight. Here, they flipped it, and now Azir shows up to ask Reina to use his idea of equality through submitting to him for absolute power, and naturally, she says no. Red points out, yeah, anyone who says that type of stuff needs a wake-up call. And together, Reina and Togo perform a group transformation. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought having a group transformation that would give it a lot of hype and build-up it deserves, but no, they don't even give you the manga backdrop where you see all the flying stone pillars from Ahmed's transformation. Shame too. Anyway, Ahmed gets her rider bike up, and the two are off to the races, and they immediately bulldoze Gimmick on his way to stop Azir. So I might as well talk about him quickly. He can transform parts of his body into an animal, hence using wings to transport Azir, like a chimera. He was actually beaten later in chapter 11, but they pushed his defeat to be earlier than Yugas's. So in the manga, Yidhra and Tet weren't sealed in the cards yet, and Yugas talks about, and I'm paraphrasing his words, stupid and beautiful women who do not want to be together with me. And then licks Tetalina's cards. With the change, Logi's next to her card as Yugas licks it, and this is going to be one of the few times I will ever say, maybe this person needs to get tased in the throat, because that is creepy. Like, ew, like, it's gross then, it's gross now, it's even gross that it's animated, but blah, blah. Other changes are that instead of Logi, Red gets trapped in the bear claw, and in the manga, it was Tiger Scissors trapping Logi before Yugas is able to trap him, since Logi was trying to use wind magic to get close. Yidhra actually tried using wind magic differently and was able to get past his guard, but Yugas had cards in his shirt hidden as a last resort. Then Yidhra managed to use a blasting seal engraving spell because she saw Logi turn into a card. The anime keeps the escape and the fact that she's used to close-range explosions able to free everyone from the cards as an explanation. That being said, it doesn't really change much. It just kind of sucks that this was kind of free cursor fight, which was handled really well, given that she was the last party member standing outside of the other superheroes. So it sucks that her fight scene was removed, though I'm guessing it's because of the role she's going to play for the final fight of this arc. And Tetalina immediately gets Vrikolacus to crunch on both Gimmick and Yugas with a smile, asking them specifically to go slow on Yugas, especially for what he did. And honestly, can we not blame her? Like, the dude is a creep. At the end of chapter 10, we get Azir beating up Red, and Ahmed with chapter 11 basically telling us what happened before the fight. Azir meets up with Vidan, whose party affiliation is going to be very clear, given that he gave Azir the magic seed. So even though I'm not spoiling it, it's pretty obvious whose side he's on, wishing him luck before leaving. And how Rider and Ranger Duo show up at the perfect time. Azir's creatures, Uaf, or Waz, turns her bike into mere sand. And I know from Twitter that Kamen Rider fans who really hate how there's little bike action is feeling really disappointed after seeing that. Anyway, he traps him into a lion's nest-like vibe. And the anime actually has Tet, Yidhra, and Logi there, since in the manga, they were too far away at the time. Red tries punching it, but sand and regeneration is not an easy combination. Amen uses her speed form change in Jackal to blitz him, but Azir uses Waz's time-stopping magic. And I guarantee you another reviewer is probably going to be using the DL time stop music if they probably haven't already done so already. Bet on that. Before Waz grabs them both and Red is barely able to break free, realizing Azir cannot turn living things into sand, but with his summons ability he believes he can't lose, and when Red points out the dangers of using the magic seeds, Azir decides to sink him into the ground. The anime actually uses the sand attack to explain how Tetalina, Yidhra, and Logi manage to eventually reach them as they fight off mummies when Red joins them, when in the manga, Red summons Friendy early to bring the magic seeds to Tetalina. We actually end the chapter 11 footage with Azir versus Amen, and the anime fleshes out their first meeting, with Amen struggling to speak unless she has the mask on when he tries to introduce himself, the lore behind the sacred tree being withered by the demon lord causing elves' lives span to mirror those of humans, getting ditched for training, finding her cute when she's sleeping, the personality shift and him figuring out the personality adjustment, and him giving her reassurance her true self is a sign that she's a caring person. It's sweet and does what it needs to do. And we keep getting transitions between the present fight with more detailed animation of her attacks in the flashbacks, ultimately culminating in her attempts at a rider kick to finish him off, but this time his freeze powers stop her. Oh, rather, his summons free stops. When the other heroes get there, Rainer's been taken down, and Azir transforms into Amen. So, I like this episode, but I do not like the change. Okay, if they felt having the animation for 2 fights was too much for an episode, I can understand that. Like, I never want to make animators' lives hard for them. We have enough of people in animation communities that just love complaining that everything that isn't made by MAPPA, Bones, or Madhouse to animate everything would just cause more animators to struggle if only 3 studios were working on things. And I will point out that focusing on Azir versus Reina did the justice it deserves. Even though it wasn't like some great animated masterpiece, it did what it needed to do. But yeah, this really robbed the viewers of showing Yidra's intelligence all the way through. Granted, I am glad that based on last episode focusing on her paying attention to the other elves, it made sense for anyone who's only just watching the anime. But given how in the manga it was basically her figuring out all of this thanks to the sacrifice of the others, basically robbing us of the magical chess match by removing most of the plays kind of hurts this one for me. But yeah, the animators did their job animating just enough to reflect the manga's way of the fight, since it was a clash of abilities and more of the two's emotional states and how they felt about each other. And I already spoke about the mummy situation already. At the very least, I'll add that it was definitely more of a unique take to bring the other heroes closer, with some explanation, since in the manga, Red just basically flew over so that Tetalina could get the magic seed from Yidhra. So other than that, there's not much to say. I would say I think this episode is still good. Like, if there's just one thing that bugs me for saying it was fairly accurate, it's still entertaining enough as an episode and they didn't do anything else majorly wrong, so I guess I can't complain. So what did you all think of the episode? And let me know in the comments below.